Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
So we have a huge pop-up announcement coming up in about 5 minutes here, right at 8 o'clock. We'll get there with Brian and Kenzie on Q101. But first, can you imagine going somewhere in Chicago and seeing a dinosaur? Now, I know you can see at the Field Museum, you can see Sue, which is always really cool. You should always do that. Some people haven't been to the Field Museum, and you should go. It's one of the greatest places in the country as far as what they have in there and the amount of stuff in there. Some museums you go to and like, oh, there's the thing. Okay, cool, we'll leave now, and you paid like $50. You could spend 4 or 5 hours in the Field Museum if you really want to see every exhibit, everything they got going on in there.
Yes, it's a very large place.
Awesome. And this is not about the Field Museum. This is about the Brookfield Zoo / Chicago. They added Chicago in the name earlier this year to confuse things.
Amen.
I don't know why they're not proud of Brookfield. You know, of saying Brookfield.
I think they just want to pull more people there who are visiting Chicago. Because if you Google like Chicago Zoo, then it would come up.
I think they're tricking them to get them away from the Lincoln Park Zoo, which is the Chicago
That's
Zoo.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're tricking those people that come at Midway, and they're just going to keep going out to Brookfield. Oh, there's the zoo.
Yep.
That's not the zoo. I mean, I love the people of Brookfield
That's
Zoo.
a good zoo.
No, it's incredible. It's also one of the greatest zoos in the country. And Lincoln Park's one of the only 5 free zoos, I believe, in the country.
Not many.
But
nothing's free.
That's right. But Brookfield announced a massive redevelopment plan yesterday, quote, to disrupt the traditional zoo experience, a 15-year, $500 million redevelopment plan.
Well, what are they disrupting? Like, what are they doing?
Well, that's what I want to know. They haven't gotten very specific. They've said
They're
some...
like, there's not going to be real animals. It's all IMAX.
Well, they say a couple things in here. The traditional old zoo, you moved from one habitat to the next. You saw one animal, then you saw the next animal, your next animal. We're looking to disrupt that and change it. I don't know if they're going to put all the animals together and they'll fight.
It's like a gladiator pit. I feel like that's not good for the endangered species.
No, I got to admit.
A lemur's in with a lion. It's not fair, man.
Well, the lemur's so quick.
Yeah.
Actually, DraftKings is teaming up with the Brookfield Zoo.
Well, now we're getting somewhere. I got to tell you.
Forget the Detroit Lions. If you want the Brookfield ones.
I'm going to tell you that if they did that, I'd pay $200 to go to the zoo. And I'm not telling them, I'm not being mean. I'm just saying
like Roman Coliseum style.
If I knew lions were going to fight lemurs.
That's awful.
What's your number one matchup, Brian? What would you want to see most?
Well, you're right. That is awful. I want a fair fight.
Okay, so what's a fair fight?
Brian's like, it's not the fighting that's awful. It's the different weight classes. let me get you a real fight.
Let me think.
That's just a massacre. That's not right.
Okay, top of my head. Silverback gorilla against a lion.
Wow. Yeah.
Wouldn't you pay? I'd pay $300 to see that. I think I'd pay more. I'm really out of my head.
You're going to tip the ticket taker on the way in?
Like a polar bear versus a grizzly bear?
Okay. Because they never fight in the real world.
I know. You'd have to have the arena be cold and warm. So because you can't take one out of its element, then it's a tilted fight.
Because if you know if the polar bear lost, he'd complain. So it was too hot.
It's dirt. I got nothing. I'm used to sliding.
You want me to fight in this 95-degree crap?
Can you see a polar bear popping open a Coca-Cola before he gets in the ring?
I'm picturing the UFC fight, like the Cup Man's there with the polar bear.
It's like Logan Paul in his prime, but it's a polar bear with his Coca-Cola.
Oh.
I don't know if anybody who works at the Brookfield Zoo can explain more what's going on, but this is what we're thinking when you say these things. We don't know exactly what you're talking about, a facelift to disrupt the zoo.
So if it's not a Coliseum battle, Brian would like you to call up and let us know how you're going to disrupt the experience.
Or are they making dinosaurs like Jurassic Park? Are they,
And then you go through like the little orb through that, because it's going to be expensive. You know how they rode in those little orbs in the new one?
Yeah.
Which wasn't safe.
No,
we found out.
Everything they think is safe with dinosaurs isn't.
I know, and here we are. We're going to do it anyways. We've learned nothing.
Well, they didn't spend enough time thinking about whether they could. It's whether they should.
That's right.
That's right.
I don't know. I'm curious what's going to happen. I mean, Casey, do you have any other thoughts on what you think's going on back there? With $500 million, 15 years, and the word disrupt is disturbing.
I don't trust this entire thing. I read the WGN article last night, and it all felt dystopian. It all felt like we're about to put something out of a tube that can't go back in the tube. And the problem is that now that, I have imagined a Roman Coliseum, now it's like, well, let's take our risk. Let's see what happens.
Sure.
But I don't trust Brookfield on this one at all. I'm very afraid of what could happen to this zoo.
Yeah.
I have to be honest. I read the disrupt line, And to me, it felt like a Jackass movie. Like I'm going to be trying to look at girls and someone's going to come knock my soda. Like, this is even fun.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Allison checked in from North Chicago. Wanted to hear that. Of course, that's Joe Keery, who played Steve Carrington on Stranger Things. He went to DePaul, and he got Stranger Things right from there when he graduated DePaul while he was still here doing commercial work. So, Allie, North Chicago, thank you for listening. There's your song. Now, big announcement. Our next Q101 pop-up is Thursday, August 1st.
Woo!
Yes, at Reggie's Rock Club, where
I
we
love Reggie's.
did some there last year.
Listen, Reggie's is kind of a spooky place year-round, and I'm so into it. I love it there.
Would you call it spooky, Reggie's?
It's not spooky.
There's
Okay.
a skeleton on the roof. A big one.
Noted. It's spooky all year
So
round.
if you can't find it
Yeah.
and you see a 12-foot skeleton, you're close. So I
So-
told my Uber driver last year, like, do you see a skeleton? Keep going.
Super excited because, as you know, what Thursday, August 1st is, the big fest here in Chicago. So you obviously know what that weekend's about, just a couple weeks away. So our next Q101 pop-up, these free shows will be with Will Dorado on Thursday, August 1st, 2 p.m. performance. So, we did this last year during the day, and it was really fun because, obviously, with the festival going on, bands are going in and out all day, and this way you can see the things you want to see at night. You know, you can sneak away for a couple and then go do that. It's right in
Oh,
that
yeah, it's
same...
a really good kickoff, basically.
And it's right there in the Grant Park area, not far away, south of it. So you can make the walk, actually. That's what I did last year. I walked from there.
I actually gave you a partial ride,
Oh, that's right.
and you effed me because you were like, hey, could you just get me a few blocks up? Because,
Yes.
I mean, you're like, if you drive for 5 minutes,
Yes.
that's just like that. Well, what happened was I should have took 290 home because it's on the south side.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Well, for some reason, something else was happening during Lala last year. There was something else that weekend, and I can't remember what it was, but it was big also.
Yup.
And I dropped you off, and all the 290 entrances after where I dropped you off were closed with cones. So it made me take 90, and it took me 3 hours to get home because I had to drive through the city and stand. And I'm like, for your 5-minute ride.
I want to thank you right now, actually, for those 5 blocks you drove me. Because it was
I
hot.
sat in my car and I cried
Yeah.
for 3 hours. Brian was home before me.
The exciting thing about Will Dorado this year, so again, this is at Reggie's. This is going to kick off a big weekend of festival play here in Chicago, Thursday, August 1st. The past 2 years we've done this. We did Måneskin 2 years ago and then Jesse Reyes last year.
Oh,
and
so fun.
Those were sit-down acoustic performances. They played a few songs. We all had a great time, and then we went on our way to Grant Park. This year, Will Dorado is full, plugged in, full concert, full set. It is going to be such a good time at Reggie's that day.
Hell yes. I love that. And you can download your free first come, first serve ticket at Q101.com, a guaranteed entry pass, because Reggie's is a beautiful venue, intimate. So I'm not saying it's not like the size of, the Aragon, let's say. It is you're right there. No matter where you are in Reggie's, you're in the front row. Let me put it that way.
Oh, it's great. It's actually like the perfect, I would almost put it at mid-size. Like, it's not a tiny
Yeah.
bar, but yeah, you're right. It's not an Aragon either.
So right now, go to Q101.com to download your free first come, first serve ticket and a chance for guaranteed entry. Sponsored by our great friends at Heineken Silver, Wintrust Community Bank, and the Illinois Department of Transportation. Here's a little bit of Will Dorado for you, just a little bit to get a vibe going. Go to Q101.com right now for all the info and to get in.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. And one more chance, a recap of what we just announced a few minutes ago, because you should be going to Q101.com right now. The next, I should say, Q101 pop-up will be with Will Dorado on Thursday, August 1st at Reggie's Rock Club, 2 p.m. performance. I may not have mentioned this before. It's a 21 and over show. So that'll be Thursday, August 1st, right, pre the big festival going on around that time, So...
what a fun kickoff to the whole weekend.
That'll be Thursday, August 1st. And download your free first come, first serve ticket right now and enter for a chance to win guaranteed entry passes at Q101.com. Please do that because Last year, when we did it at Reggie's, the line was a couple blocks long.
You don't understand. I mean, the way people showed up for Jessie Reyes, which she's phenomenal. If you don't know her, she's incredible. But that event blew Brian and I away. And you
Great.
ended up really loving her. I
do.
knew about her. And
Yeah.
you're like, I don't really. And I go, just wait. And you were even like, maybe I'll stay half the time. And you're like, no, I'm going to stay. It's really good. It was phenomenal.
No, she was amazing.
She really was. And the venue was just a cool-ass venue to be at. Reggie's reminds me of something that would be like in a movie. It's kind of like this iconic spot. It's really cool.
It is that. So make sure you go do that at Q101.com. Get your ticket lined up, or at least apply for guaranteed entry, because people were waiting from 3 a.m. for that last year to get in. I'm sure it'll be the same for Wildorado. Sponsored by our great friends Heineken Silver, Wintrust Community Bank, and the Illinois Department of Transportation. Coming up, we'll get to head-to-head lines where you decide the content based on the headline alone. That'll be coming up here in about 10 minutes.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Time for head-to-head lines. So we do this every Wednesday right around this time, around 8:20, where we give you two headlines, and based on the headline alone, you must decide which story you want to hear more about. You decide the content of the show. We always say it's your show. So here we go. You just text in for this, 312-591-8300, headline number 1 or headline number 2. Are you ready?
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Headline number 1. El Paso police say missing child and stolen vehicle, quote, did not exist. Woman arrested. It's a lot there for a short headline.
That sounds like a movie when you wake up and they're like, you never had a kid.
Yeah.
You know when that happened?
Can you give me an example?
Yes. It's a movie on a plane.
Is it Snakes on a Plane?
No. I guess snakes maybe were the kidnappers. And then, what's her name?
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
Hold on.
I have been given no information about this movie.
Okay. I think is it Flight Plan? Flight Plan? Flight Plan. Wait, hold on. Let me look up Flight Plan. Flight Plan movie. With who's a really intense woman in all those movies.
Were you in this movie?
Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster. It's gonna be nuts. She wakes up and they're like, ma'am, you boarded this flight alone. You never
Yes.
had a kid.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's like that.
But you're right, because I didn't see that movie, but I remember the trailer of it. And was it good? Did you see it?
I did see it. And you know how she was like, she starts thinking she's insane. And she's like, okay, maybe I didn't have a kid at a certain point because she has no boarding ticket for the kid. Somebody else is in the seat. But what happens is her daughter drew a heart on like the insulated glass, and Jodie Foster like breathes on it, like, and the
Yes.
shape of the heart comes back.
Yes, I have seen this movie.
I know.
It's-
That's like an iconic scene where she's like, my daughter did exist. I'm not insane. And she's got to find her.
I can't remember if they find the kid, though.
I think they find the kid.
No spoiler. You're
That'd be so great if they didn't find the kid and that was just the end of the movie. They go, oh, well.
I guess I did have a kid, but hey, she's gone now, so I'll have more money.
That sucks. Wow.
I could take more trips without a kid now.
Yeah, that's the real win. Is now wherever she was going, she has to babysit when she gets
It
there.
ends with her in a bikini on the beach, enjoying drinking a margarita, like
Yeah.
enjoying life.
Sounds like your problem now.
By the way, Case, as far as our movies go, like this week, 8 o'clock on Friday, Case is going to watch Twister because of what all happened in the Chicagoland area. He's
Yes,
never
the,
seen.
the original one, not the remake that comes out on Thursday.
It's not a remake. It's like I think it's like a continuation or reboot. I
Okay,
think.
sure. Same idea.
Whatever.
The 1996 one with Bill Paxton.
Yes. We're never going to say watch Flight Plan. It wasn't. It
thank
was.
God, because I don't know what just happened.
It wasn't a blockbuster big. I mean, it was a big movie, I guess, kind of. It was 37% on Rotten Tomatoes. We don't need to put that one in there.
Okay, all right. Back to the headlines.
Okay, so what the headline again was Jodie Foster inspired the guy to shoot Ronald Reagan, because that's what happened back then. Okay, now, El Paso police, missing child and stolen vehicle, quote, did not exist. Like in Flight Plan, woman arrested. So that's headline number 1. If you want to hear more about that story, text in headline number 1. Headline number 2. Dad tours home for sale, then returns with 4 kids and refuses to leave, Virginia cops say. Wow.
Listen, they always say you got to move quick if you want the house in this market.
Sounds like you should take a flight and all those kids disappear.
Then he can just get a nice apartment in Chicago.
Save some money.
Yeah, you can just keep living in his car or whatever. Wow. That's weird. Okay, so that's headline number 2. If you want to hear more about that story, text in Headline 2. You decide the content after All American Rejects. We'll talk about the story you choose. It's Brian and Kenzie on Q101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101 had the headlines where you decide the content of the show. We gave you 2 headlines before All American Rejects, and by text, you'd say headline 1 or 2, and you decide which one we're going to talk about. So, headline number 1 was, El Paso police say missing child in stolen vehicle, quote, did not exist. Woman arrested. Headline number 2 was dad tours home for sale, then returns with 4 kids and refuses to leave, Virginia cops say. And it was split a little bit, I think, Kenzie, but most said 2, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But there was a good amount of votes for both.
Yeah, because it is kind of intriguing, that first story. Like, why'd the woman say the kid didn't exist? Kind of like,
Flight plan.
Yeah, like a little conspiracy thing going on. But we're not going to talk about that one, and we'll never talk about it because you chose headline number 2. Here we go. Dad tours home for sale, then returns with 4 kids and refuses to leave, Virginia cops say. First off, nice move. Just kind of come in there and I like this house. And then they leave the realtor, and then you just kind of get the kids and move in.
You tiptoe back in.
I mean, Q Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not even leaving.
Yeah. I like how fast you said that.
That's what he does.
Well, yeah, he was like, we're not leaving.
No, he says it fast.
I'm trying to remember. Anyway, either way, homes are expensive right now. I can relate to this guy.
Do you want to do this? Is
Yes.
this an inspiration to you?
Seriously, it's kind of, you see those inspirational Instagram videos, like how you can get a side hustle and
Yeah,
make
like the mug you drink out of that you burn yourself with this morning.
Well, just I want to make like $5,000 a month on a side hustle. I see those all over my Instagram all the time, because we need to get a house and they're just too expensive right now and the rates are too high. So this sounds like something I could pull off for at least a little while.
You could do this.
Yeah.
You're hard to move.
Damn right.
Once you get in there.
Hell yeah. You try to get me off. I'm grabbing on that banister. They're not going to get me out of there.
Can't move you.
No. So what happened was, here's the story. It happened at 9:30 a.m. on Tuesday, July 9th in the neighborhood of North Stafford, 65-mile drive north of Richmond, Virginia. The victim advised he arrived at his residence to discover a man and 4 children inside, the Stafford County Sheriff's Office said in a news release. First off, you're selling your house, but you already moved to another one. You know it's empty. You open the door. There's a man and 4 kids in there.
That's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I feel like I'd be like, oh, you wanted to see it again. Like, you're obviously just here to look around again. Hopefully you're buying.
Yeah. Oh, I see that you like the island in the kitchen that your kid's sitting on right now.
Making eggs.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? First off, you're probably a little scared. There's someone in your house,
Well, there's 5 people in your house.
Yeah. And that doesn't say the ages of the kids. Maybe they're like 28, 30, 35.
They're just a bunch of burnouts.
Yeah. I don't know. So when deputies arrived, he called the police, of course, they would observe the 5 uninvited guests still within the residence. So the guy got out of there. He said, I ain't dealing with this. I'm not going to get my ass kicked by a bunch of little kids.
Amen.
Well, the dad's like cheering him on in some kind of fight club situation. Deputies requested the suspect step out, but instead, he just stared out the window at them. So they were outside saying, like, hey, man, you got to come out.
He's like, staring contest. Whoever loses gets to keep the house.
Yeah, he goes, nah, I ain't coming out. This is a nice house.
I'm not even leaving.
Now, that forced deputies to go inside and arrest him, sadly. And that's when the homeowner finally realized what was going on. He realized, hey, this is the guy that came and looked at the house. The suspect had toured the home on a July 7th open house where he inquired about buying the place. Apparently, the suspect liked the house before he permanently moved in, the sheriff said. The guy was 39 years old, so the kids had to be young. Gave the deputies a false name, but they later discovered he was out on probation and had warrants for his arrest in 2 other nearby counties.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. You know what I think happened in this scenario? I think he saw, I believe it was a Netflix docuseries about squatting.
Yeah.
And how essentially, if you're there long enough, legally, you get to stay there, even if you're not paying any money. And I think he thought, the guy's out here. If I'm here for like a week and one piece of mail shows up with my name on it, I own this house. It gave him false confidence as a squatter.
There is something called squatters' rights.
There is.
I'm not sure it's that easy.
It's like, no, literally, it's insane. Once you're at a residence for a certain amount of time, like say you let Case, he messes up his relationship with his girlfriend. He's no longer allowed to be in the beautiful apartment. He's like, hey, can I stay on your couch while I figure it out? And you say yes.
Yeah.
If he stays there and gets like a piece of mail sent to your house, you like can't kick him out legally.
I like this. This is good to know.
Case.
It's insane. They have a right because you've allowed them to call it their address. It is madness. If you ever watched this Netflix Squatters docuseries.
It's terrible. We even talked about a story locally where a woman couldn't get her house back that she was trying to rent out, and the people were there for, I think, a year. Cost her thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars going to court. She couldn't get them out. I believe she finally did get them out, but it took a year. I do have the Illinois rule in a second, but first, Case.
Yeah.
Do not let your girlfriend forward her mail. Just something I just thought of. I want to make note of it to get it out there before I forgot. Do not let her get your mail there.
All right, good to know.
Can you kick her out? Is that why?
He can never get her out of there.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't want to be trapped. I need room to spread my wings.
Listen, she's a wonderful, beautiful girl. The best thing that ever happened to you.
Love her to death.
But get her a P.O. box.
I think Case is the problem. One of the two of them. I gotta be honest.
Don't do it. Now.
Get her a P.O. box. I might bring that home tonight. I might see how she reacts to it because she hasn't transferred her mail yet.
That's about as easy a conversation as saying I want a prenup.
I think it's worse.
It's got to be worse.
I don't want your mail to come here because then you have some claim over where we live.
Now, to relieve people a little bit, because Kenzie's right, that show talks about horrifying situations of how people got there. Illinois law and squatters' rights and says that squatters may be able to claim ownership of a property after living there for 20 years. That's Illinois' rule. Now, it varies,
Illinois.
It varies
Okay.
state to state. I don't know what it is in Indiana,
Now,
Wisconsin.
what if they're getting mail and stuff forwarded there?
It doesn't say that, but they had to live there 20 years. Before
That's a
they
long
could,
time.
Yeah, and landlords can evict squatters through a lengthy and expensive court process, which happened to
So
that
when
poor
Case
woman.
is 45, and you're like, listen, I think you've had enough time to get on your feet. He's going to be like, it's too late. It's too late for you. I'm going to stay.
That's my goal, is to just wait out Brian in this case scenario, bleed him dry financially.
Oh, God.
And then before you know it, the apartment that he lives in now will be mine.
You got to be living in there somehow. You can't be next, a mile away.
Trust me. Give me 6 months. I'm sure I'll be crashing on your couch.
Terrible.
Especially if you do that gym thing I told you not to do.
What's the gym move?
He goes, his girlfriend had moved in. And he was like, I'll go to the gym. I go and meet some people. I go, it's a bad idea. Because when your girlfriend goes to the gym and sees a girl and she's like, oh my God, I met your boyfriend. She's going to light the apartment on fire.
And then I'm going to need to be on Brian's couch.
Exactly.
Well, that's one way to get out of working out.
Uh-huh. Oh my God, you're
You're
so
not
right.
allowed to go to the gym.
That's right. And there you go. There's the headlines for today.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q 101.